pledge will be led by the gentlewoman from Texas, Miss Johnson.
I'm here this morning just to address education. How do we know? Because the people have told us so. We represent the ideal way to alleviate the shortages is by ensuring that children of all races and both genders receive the basic grounding in science and mathematics that will prepare them to pursue careers as scientists, engineers, and technologists. Is it not time then for America to grow morally? For those who fear to answer this question, I will answer it for them. The time is now.
Now more than ever, what happens in Washington impacts us here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Your Congresswoman, Eddie Bernice Johnson, will help you understand what goes on inside the federal government and share perspectives from today's leading policymakers and opinion leaders. And now, your Congresswoman, Eddie Bernice Johnson.
Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report. My guest today is Judy Conti, the Federal Advocacy Coordinator for the National Employment Law Project, an organization that works to promote policies that create good jobs and enforce worker rights. Prior to working with the National Employment Law Project, Ms. Conti founded the D.C. Employment Justice Center, a legal service provider devoted to workplace justice in Washington, D.C. She has received a number of awards from legal organizations, including the American Bar Association, in recognition of her work. And she graduated from Williams College and received her law degree from the College of William and Mary. I want to thank you for coming and tell me what you're doing now and how is it coming out?
Well, Congresswoman, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be here today. It's a real honor. The National Employment Law Project works on a number of different issues that help to create good jobs for working people, secure their rights on the job, and most particular to this time in history, make sure that the safety net for workers is as secure as possible. We are experiencing a period of unemployment that is unprecedented since the Great Depression. So right now we are spending a tremendous amount of our time and energy working on the unemployment insurance safety net. It's been a challenging time. The safety net is somewhat frayed. There are a lot of people who aren't captured in the unemployment system, people who are self-employed, often low-wage workers and women workers. But at the same time, the federal government has really responded. Congress has learned its lessons from prior recessions and gotten out ahead of the unemployment crisis faster than it ever did before, and with a more robust package of unemployment extensions and support for unemployed workers than it has ever done before. And it has definitely helped dampen the dramatic impact of the recession on a lot of families in terms of housing, food, health care, the basic issues of economic security.
Well, you know, the companies, especially the larger companies now, are doing better. Wall Street's doing so much better.
Right.
But they're not rehiring.
They're not. Every recession that we've ever had shows us, unfortunately, that unemployment is the lagging indicator. It is the last thing in the economy that's going to recover. Companies, big and small, they're going to first work to pay off debt that they may have accumulated during the recession, working off lines of credit in order to keep business going. They will probably go for as long as they possibly can with the staff that they have. They will do as much as they can with as little as possible until they're sure that the economy has truly recovered. So the very last thing they will start doing is rehiring workers. And it's a very scary reality in spite of the multiple signs that we have of economic recovery, which is very heartening. The reality is that the workforce is going to be the last thing recovers, and that's what really hits your constituents where they live most desperately.
Yes. Now, I know in Texas, at least some portions of Texas, the unemployment has not been as high as some other areas in the country. As a matter of fact, I don't think we qualified to get some of the unemployment compensation because our unemployment picture was not is grave.
Right now, your state rate is 8.2%, and the very last tier of 6 extra weeks of unemployment are for states that have an average of 8.5% over a 3-month period or higher. The good news is that you're below that, and you are below the national average of 10.2%. The bad news is that you are inching ever closer to that 8.5%. So as long as Congress reauthorizes all of these extensions into 2010, residents of Texas will be able to take advantage of it. It's important for your constituents as well to realize that while Dallas is still below the national average, it's actually slightly above the Texas average. Dallas right now has an unemployment rate of about 8.7%. So it is one of the areas in the state that's being hit harder than others.
Well, we've had so many layoffs in the high-tech area, which is predominantly the workforce.
Right.
And things seem to be getting better for these companies, but as I indicated, they've not reached out to bring workers back.
They haven't, and it's one of the things that the president and his administration are talking about. Obviously, it's one of the things that folks on Capitol Hill are talking about as well, that our next phase needs to move from one that's only about the safety net into creating jobs. And there are a lot of ideas being bandied about. There are ones, tax credits for people that hire new workers that they wouldn't have otherwise. And that program will need to be designed very carefully, because it's really easy for somebody to hire somebody they were going to anyway and then try to claim a tax credit that they're not really entitled to. But I'm confident that the smart minds up here can figure out how to do that in the right way. There are also lots of conversations going on about public job programs, ways that we can, both through our infrastructure, but also working to strengthen governments and government functions, that we might be able to create additional jobs as well. And I think that in the new year, that's something we're going to see everybody here in D.C. talking very seriously about, and hopefully making great strides towards creating jobs as well as just saving the ones that do exist and providing a safety net for people who are falling through the cracks.
Well, it's a domino effect. So when jobs are lost, people don't spend.
Right.
And it's most especially where there are low-income areas where they have stores that are a little bit more reasonable in cost. If they stop shopping, the stores close.
Exactly.
And so it makes it even harder on them to even use public transportation to get to a store that has fresh vegetables.
Exactly. It's one of the reasons why unemployment benefits are so important. This is one of the most stimulative things that the government can do. Economists estimate that anywhere from $1.60 to $2.15 is the economic stimulus realized for every $1 of unemployment benefits that the government pays out. And it's because people spend this money on the necessities of life. They go to the supermarkets, they pay their bills. It's not used for luxuries. Unemployment is a replacement of about 30 to 50% of your wages. So you really do spend it on the bare necessities. And it's really important to keep that money flowing through communities. It's one of the reasons, again, why the unemployment situation hasn't been as bad as it could have been otherwise, because Congress was very smart and got out ahead so that it can keep the mom-and-pop grocery stores, the neighborhood stores that serve people with their needs, the utility companies, keep them in business because people can continue to provide for themselves.
Yes. Now, who is eligible for unemployment insurance?
Generally, employees who lose their job through no fault of their own are eligible for unemployment. People who are self-employed don't have that kind of safety net in this country. So if you're an independent contractor, if you're in business for yourself, you're not eligible for unemployment. The other large groups of people who are purposefully left out of the system are people who have quit their job for, voluntarily quit for a reason that was not connected to the work, or people who have been fired for misconduct because they've been breaking work rules repeatedly, because they're engaging in violence or insubordination on the job. Those are not the kind of workers that we want to support with a safety net. But in the most general terms, it's for employees who lose their jobs through no fault of their own.
And how long do people receive these benefits?
Under normal economic times, people can receive these benefits for usually up to 26 weeks, half a year.